All right, picture this for a second. You're decked out in your team's colors, packed into a stadium, the energy is absolutely electric, and you know that just by being there, you're part of something massive.
The kind of rivalry where history is made on the field and bragging rights last a lifetime.
You got it. And today's deep dive takes us straight into one of those legendary showdowns, Bulgaria's eternal derby, Levski Sofia versus CSKA Sofia. Generations of rivalry, the kind of passion that could power a small city, and now a situation that's got everyone talking.
Yeah, because if you listen to Lepsky's owner, the next chapter of the story might be written without any away fans.
Seriously. Now, even if you're thinking Bulgarian football, huh? Trust me, this isn't just some niche sports story. The headline from our source, topsport.bg, is enough to grab anyone's attention. Sirakov threatens, only one rocket at the Derby, and next time there will be no CSKA fan.
Straight to the point, no messing around.
No kidding. But before we get into this whole rocket thing, we need to give everyone a little background on what makes this Derby eternal.
Yeah, and why this threat from the owner is such a big deal.
Right. Okay, so imagine two teams, both from Sofia, both claiming to be the club of the people. First, you've got Levski with their blue and white, founded way back in 1914, tied to this history of resisting Ottoman rule.
They almost embody this spirit of defiance themselves.
They do. And then you've got CSKA, decked out in red. They came around a few decades later, but they quickly became the favorites in the communist regime.
So right from the start, you've got this extra layer of symbolism and rivalry.
Absolutely. Now add to that decades of battling it out for trophies, national pride, bragging rights on every street corner.
And then there are the fans, and these fans live and breathe these teams.
To say the Eternal Derby earns its name is an understatement.
For sure.
Which brings us back to our article and Ladisky's owner Nasko Sirakov drawing a line in the sand saying one rocket. And that's it for away fans at any future derby.
Now, hold on a second. We probably need to explain what these rockets actually are.
Yeah, when I hear rocket, I'm thinking Elon Musk, not a football match.
Right. Rockets here means flares. You know those handheld pyrotechnics you see at some games? And they might seem like they just add to the atmosphere.
I feel like there's a but coming.
A big one. Because these flares have become a real problem in football, and it seems like Bulgaria is no exception.
Okay, so flares. They're colorful, I get it, it's a statement. But are we really going to start banning entire groups of fans because of something that honestly looks kind of cool en masse?
Tell me about it. Imagine you're in a packed stadium, though. Adrenaline's pumping. Next thing you know, a burning flare lands next to you. Or even worse, right in the middle of the crowd.
Yeah, that's not cool anymore. Talk about a recipe for disaster. Burns, smoke inhalation, the panic it would cause. But is it really a huge problem in Bulgaria? Like, is this a regular thing?
Well, Sirakov didn't exactly pull this ultimatum out of thin air. Remember that last derby we were talking about?
Yeah.
The article said that the police confiscated enough flares from fans to last a full 70 minutes if they threw them back to back.
70 minutes? Wait, that's longer than the game even lasts?
Right.
So like they were planning a rave, not a football match.
It definitely gives you an idea of how big the problem is. And the safety concerns are real.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not just about a few singed eyebrows either. Think about it. A serious incident. Lawsuits, stadiums get shut down. You could even have international sanctions against Bulgarian clubs.
Wow, so now it's about way more than just who wins.
Exactly. And this isn't just some isolated Bulgarian thing either. There have been awful flare incidents in other countries, injuries, even deaths. It's really given the sport a black eye.
Yeah, no kidding. Which actually makes what Sirakov said about other leagues more interesting. He brought up Real Madrid and Barcelona. Those are big names, and they've both limited away fans. Is that common?
It's not super common, but it shows how far some clubs will go to keep things safe. Spain has had their own issues with fan violence and limiting away fans, especially at high-risk matches. It's one way to try to control things.
So he's taking a page from their book, so to
Yeah.
speak. But then there's Cyprus and Greece, where he said they went even further and just completely banned away fans from some matches.
Right, that's the other end of the spectrum, and it's extreme. They've also had huge problems with these rivalries, and sadly, some terrible things have happened because of them. Their solution, while drastic, really shows how complicated the problem is and how tough the decisions are for those in charge.
So you've got everything from limiting attendance to completely banning away fans. Is there even a right answer? Where do you draw the line between passion and letting things get out of hand?
That is the million-dollar question. And to be fair to Sirakov, his ultimatum, even if it's dramatic, seems like it's coming from a good place. He's worried about people's safety. But you're right, there's the other side of the coin, too. the atmosphere, the money, the whole spirit of this rivalry.
Exactly. These derbies are electric because of that clash, that energy from both sets of fans going back and forth. Take that away, and it's a totally different ball game, isn't it?
It'd be like watching a movie on mute.
Yeah.
You might get the plot, but you're missing all the good stuff, the emotion.
So what now? Can they even find a compromise?
You know, if we really listen to Sirakov's words, there's a little bit of hope. He says, and I quote, "I know that football is for the fans.
Yep, that's
But-
promising.
But it can't go on like this." So he's saying the fans matter, but he's drawing a hard line. It makes me think he's at least open to finding some kind of middle ground.
Okay, a glimmer of hope then. Even with everyone on board, though, how do you take a rivalry like this, so raw and so passionate, and make it safe?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
It really is a tough situation, isn't it? Trying to keep that raw energy, that's what makes these rivalries so great. But at the same time, knowing that if things go too far, it could be a disaster.
That's where you really need someone to step up and lead. Sirakov, as the owner, he's not just responsible for what happens on the field. He has to look out for everybody in those stands. It's a huge responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that they do ban away fans, maybe just for a little while. On paper, it might seem like the simplest solution, right? Keep everyone safe. But what kind of message would that send?
It's tough, right? Because on the one hand, it's a really clear message. We're not going to tolerate this violence. No way. But you also run the risk of alienating a lot of fans, the ones who travel, the ones who bring that away game atmosphere.
And don't forget about the money. These derbies, they bring in a ton of revenue, get rid of a bunch of the fans, and that's going to hurt the club financially.
It's not an easy problem to solve, and it's bigger than Bulgarian football, too. Leagues all over the world are dealing with the same thing, trying to find that balance between letting people be passionate and keeping everyone safe.
Yeah, it really makes you think. This isn't just about flares or football even, is it? It's about how fans connect with the games they love, the expectations, the limits, realizing that when you're part of something this big, you have a responsibility too.
And it shows how important it is to talk to each other, because the best solutions, they come from understanding both sides. That thrill of the rivalry, yeah, but also the human cost when things go wrong. You have to see the whole picture.
It's about finding a way for everyone, players, fans, officials, to enjoy the passion without being afraid, to celebrate what makes these rivalries special, but make sure nobody gets hurt.
And that's the real challenge, not just in Bulgarian football. It's something all sports fans have to figure out.
It's a conversation we need to have, and it takes everyone working together. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we're going to leave you with something to think about. Imagine you're Sirakov. You've got the weight of history on your shoulders, the safety of all those people, the future of the eternal derby. What would you do? How do you keep that heart of the rivalry alive but make sure it has a future? Something to think about.